Yes. Here we are once again. Of course, if you're watching live, that means it's noon Eastern time on a Wednesday. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can find us in various places on Facebook. You can watch live or on demand video. Temptations Beach on Facebook, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel on YouTube, and of course, at Temptations on Twitter, aka, well, formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. I am Stoner Jesus. He is Beach. He is high behind the north side Ohio location of Temptations Beach. How are things this week in the world of Temptations?
Mixing it up, moving the studios to a new location. This may be the new thing. I have to eventually decorate my little cubby in the back here
Right.
on Wednesdays. But new location, same good show. High Noon Hemp Show. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. If you're live, or maybe you're watching later on any one of those options that you were just giving. I am watching the YouTube feed. You can ask us questions through the Temptations Beach. You can chat with me if I actually find and get to where I need to be on YouTube. And as always, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. And we'll go ahead and read the Pledge of Hemp. I pledge to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it's planted, one seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. There it is. We'll get it up there eventually, right in time, so everybody can even read along with me.
That's right.
If not, just do a screenshot of that, have it memorized by next week's show. We'll all be together on it.
Indeed.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll get all of America saying the Pledge of Hemp Allegiance
That's right.
at least once a week at high noon. Seems reasonable. Come on. Seems reasonable. Once a month we can do it with the alarms going off in the back.
That's right. Very dramatic.
Very dramatic indeed. All right, well let's jump into it. We got a good show. We missed a show last week, so I've got double the news this week. All kinds of stuff happening over the last 2 weeks. So if you were sorely disappointed that we were not on last week, then you will be ecstatic about this week's show because I've got all kinds of good news and stuff going on. So let's go ahead and get to the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door. This is the wall of bags. There's a couple other, I should have moved around a little bit. There's a couple other bags here, but this is basically the wall of bags down in the north side location. I am down here more these days, and so the product picks may be coming from here to give you a little feel. So if you're in the north side area, you know what's here, one way or another. How about some Space God gummies? As always, probably one of our more popular products currently, along with all the other Delta 9, legal Delta 9. Let's make it clear. This Delta 9 is extracted from industrial hemp. It is 100% federally, state, and locally legal to purchase. And the Space Gods are definitely, a mellow combination because, not only do I think Delta 9, when used as an edible, I think it almost always works as a depressant, so to speak, calming. But these are 15 milligrams Delta 9, 15 milligrams of CBD per gummy, which I think is definitely going to be a calming, soothing, double the anti-inflammation if you're looking to get that out of the products. And so it's the good stuff. It's the good stuff. Soon we're going to have our own formulated version of these. We'll see. Do you need to roll up some of your CBD flower, maybe your CBG flower? I have noticed that these are super popular, definitely down in Northside. But these are the organic hemp, what's left of the organic hemp. To be honest with you, whatever organic hemp raw products are left on the shelves will probably be the last of them for a little while because Raw had an issue with their organic line one way or another. But these are the connoisseurs king size with tips. And the tips are really popular these days. It's kind of interesting how putting a little filter on your CBD cigarette, um, or flower cigarette, is very, very, very popular. It makes complete sense. So I think you waste less if you use a filter. But anyway, there you go with some raw connoisseur King Slim papers and tips. And I know I've shown everybody our new Delta 9 carts, but not in the peach flavor. We now in peach. So on top of blueberry, mango, lemon, and strawberry, I should know the four flavors that we have. Oh man, I know we have blueberry, lemon, and mango. Anyway, so we're expanding our flavonoids, so to speak. Now, I do believe that this peach flavoring is actually terpene, possibly supplied. And of course, with our carts, if you look closely at our carts, you will see that our mouthpieces are made out of hemp composite. So when you have to go to dispose it, and that's a big issue. Where I think we're going to hopefully get on some type of recycling program with the whole carts. Um, but the fact of the matter is, you take that mouthpiece off, you can feel good about throwing it in the yard. It's biodegradable, made out of hemp. So if we can use hemp, we do, and there's proof. There is proof. So there you have it for from the store. Now the one from my door is something else that I use almost on a daily basis, but that's my Vote Hemp um, reusable bag. I messed up sending my pictures over. That's why there's a little delay there. Totally, totally my fault. Not production, but there it is. I really like this one. It's a nice deep reusable hemp bag with, of course, a great idea, which is Vote Hemp. Um, and of course, the voting of the hemp has, pretty much happened. Um, I don't remember if I got this with org when I was working with org, or if I just got this at some other event, where the idea was to vote hemp. It might have even been something in Ohio when we were trying to get hemp legalized here. I believe, and I don't know, and I'm going to have to check, that all 50 states are legal. I don't know positively that that's true, but I do believe that. I think South Dakota might have been one of the last states to not legalize industrial hemp, but I think they finally did. So, um, I'm going to have to check on that. But for a while there, we were 49 out of 50. If all 50 states legalized, then it's, across the country, obviously, it's federally legal, um, one way or another. So, uh, there you have it. Vote hemp. Well, at least we'll be voting on cannabis anyway in Ohio, um, in November, one way or another. Uh, so, four from the store, one from my door on the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
Which,
Dun-dun-dun.
of course, brings us to, and I'll say it every week, I don't care who disagrees with me, who protests, the greatest segment in internet history. And your chance to see what should be a Guinness World Record breaking or setting collection of hemp clothing. I defy anyone out there. Prove it. Prove that you have more hemp clothing than Beach. Get out your little camera and go through your wardrobe and all that, because we have over 5 years of video documented proof right here in what we call the Beachwear segment. And all you have to do is ask Beach about it. If you see Beach on the street, all you have to do is say, "What are you wearing, Beach?" And he'll tell you all about it. That's how we do it here. When I say, "What are you wearing, Beach?"
That's true. If you see me out on the streets, just say, "What are you wearing, Beach?" And I guarantee it'll be hemp from head to toe, one way or another. And this week, what am I wearing? I'm breaking something out new. Talk about record breaking. Never shown one of the pieces of this outfit before. Of course, up top, you've seen this hat because this is probably part of one of my all-time favorite hats. 100% hemp Kentucky, and these were made for Kentucky by a Kentucky basketball fan, back in the day, and then became popular, um, Um, again, I'm gonna flake. It'll come to me. Um, Either way, Woody Harrelson wore one of these. I'm pretty sure there's a picture somewhere, I believe, of Woody wearing this style of hat. I have like one of 50 solid blue ones. I might even have two of 50 solid blue ones. I don't know if both of them say "Go Wildcats" on the back. So it's pretty appropriate. I'm wearing Wildcat blue today too. Basketball should be starting soon. That's not what we're here for. We're here for the hemp. The shirt is Young Maven, of course, printed at the Planet Everywhere manufacturing facilities with the Hemptations University logo. Higher learning since 1995. So, or no, I'm sorry, dedicated to higher learning is
Yes.
what it says. Established in 1995. That's Hemptations University. Um, my pants, I've never worn these. I just once again kind of found these in the closet. I do not believe I've ever worn a pair of these on the High Noon Hemp Show that I can remember. These are my Just Natural elastic waist beach pants, literally beach pants. Back in the day, man, I used to wear these a lot. I have a couple different colors. Um, these were of the fiber that really lasted with the Just Naturel because they're all of my Just Naturel pants are in like they're brand new, just like these. In all honesty, and again, I used to wear these quite a bit back in the day. Spring and fall, these were some of my favorite pants to wear um, for a couple reasons. I love an elastic waistband, especially with a tie. You can gain and lose weight as you please, as long as it's not too much either direction. uh, and these are super long. If you can't tell from the picture, and you don't know me personally, I am an outrageously tall human. 2.3% of the entire human population is shorter than, or no, I'm sorry, 97 point something percent of the human population is shorter than me. So at 6'5", it is always nice to find pants that have the length that I really want, especially when it came to hemp back in the day. These were probably could very well have been some of the first hemp pants that I ever purchased or that we ever had in the store and sold. Um, it's between these and the Kentucky hemp jeans, and I want to say the Kentucky hemp outfitters we might have picked them up after Just Naturel or right around the same time. And of course, you all know how much I love my Kentucky hemp outfitter jeans. Because I've worn those probably 50 times on the show over the 5 years, because those are my favorite, and I have like 20 pairs in my size. Anyway, let's get back to this outfit. You can see in my pocket there, as usual, Green Springs Technology pen goes everywhere with me. At least one of them that I have goes everywhere with me. Um, Another classic head case product there with my head case boxers, uh, which came in three colors back in the days. Satori Canaleaf socks with the nice blue, and those are iPath, probably originally skate shoes, but to me, suspiciously boat slash beach looking, and so I really do kind of consider them to be kind of a boat slash beach shoe for us non skateboarders, one way or another. So there you have it. If you woke up this morning, you said, "What are you wearing, beach?" Now you know here on the High Noon Hemp Show. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and we will be back with the news. How far does this Temptations thing go? Our customers have been scoring hemp all the way from O'Brienville to Sharonville, north side to Dayton. What do you mean? We don't do mean. We don't do mean. I want the facts. Go to Hemptations.com or any one of the locations. Having Hemptations?
There you go. Really, the full
Yeah.
range of Beach's thespian abilities.
Yes, it is true. That's part of my Beach's three people commercials that I came up with. We haven't done one in quite a while, but for there's I'll start breaking those out. But that's probably one of my. It probably turned out one of the better ones. They're all pretty good, to be honest with you. From the news one to the reporter one, or no, the news one is the reporter one. um, I think there's an education one. That's right. But anyway, uh, part of the beach is three people, and I had somebody come up to me once, and they were like, "Do you have trip? Are you a part of triplets or something? How do you do that?"
See?
Um, and it's all just a trick of the camera. It's all just a trick of the camera because again, that was filmed. All those characters were filmed in one day, even though they all look different. But so super fun, super fun. I really enjoyed making those commercials. That's one I really like that one because I really like the "What do you mean? We don't do mean." I just think that was just I just thought that was brilliant. Honestly, I think I can write a pretty good commercial. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's get on with the news because there is plenty of news to get on with. Um, Family Handyman article: 7 concrete alternatives. Hempcrete is, of course, number one. And from the article, this is it comes in panels, bricks, cinder blocks, and insulation. Uh, and then it says the insulation R value between 2.2 and 4.8 for all of you that means something to, which is a better insulation rating. They compared it to your average insulation. And of course, we've been talking about insulation quite a bit. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't need gloves to handle hemp insulation in any form that it's in. It's completely safe for the most part to breathe. Compared to the other more popular insulation, I suppose it's still being used where you gotta like have a full body outfit on just to keep from breathing in that stuff, which I think is funny. And I've always thought, funny, not funny, because you're putting this stuff in your house. And if you look at the people that what they have to wear to put it into your house, and they're wearing hazmat suits, maybe you shouldn't use that in your house. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. But anyway, hemp insulation on top of all the other great purposes. The hemp, when used in construction, basically, especially the hempcrete, is carbon negative as it collects carbon when it's being grown. And if you're paying any attention, you will know that I've said before, and we'll say again, that hemp collects more carbon per acre than trees do. Okay. And then, because it actually then sequesters, so it sequesters carbon during growth and it sequesters carbon while installed. And so it's a double. That's why it's kind of it's a double negative in a good way, making it carbon negative, which was another one of the great reasons to use hemp wherever we can, one way or another. Um, so the first, one of the first laws in Arkansas, one of the first state laws to get challenged and lose, is in Arkansas. And so again, Arkansas tried an act that the government passed without consulting the people, um, banned all hemp-derived cannabinoids, supposedly. And I wasn't sure. I didn't know that it went that deep because I remember them just talking about Delta 8, Delta 10, blah, blah, blah. But a federal judge has blocked that act. And so that state ban on hemp derived cannabinoids is null and void. And so, this is the first challenge that we're seeing in states. There are a couple other states that are being sued right now for the very same thing, basically making laws on hemp that go against the federal law, for one thing, um, and shouldn't happen. And so that's why we're seeing once it gets to the federal level of challenge, the federal judge looks at the federal law and it's pretty easy. Honestly, I think it's probably a pretty easy day in the walk of the judge if he all he's got to do is just read a little bit of the farm bill and know what the actual federal law is, and he's going to say, no, it clearly states right here you can't make these things illegal. This, and again, I think you can, but I think the procedure of the states just deciding these things is where the challenges hold up, because it's against the federal law and possibly against the will of the people, one way or another. So we see the Arkansas Act uh, banning hemp-derived cannabinoids gets shot down by a federal judge, and so they're coming for. I know they're coming for Virginia. We see a lot of Virginia's new law and how ridiculous it is. And I do believe there's one other state, possibly. I don't think it's Pennsylvania, but possibly. I know there's a county lawsuit in Pennsylvania, and it may go as high as the state level. We'll see. I don't know. I think that'll all get worked out, to be honest with you, um, one way or another. So just leave hemp alone, people. It's fine. It's fine. It's just amazing how much morals there still are when it comes to just even like hemp, cannabis to begin with. Again, I mean, if cannabis was unsafe, we'd be down like 50 million people in the United States.
Yeah.
Again, if cannabis was unsafe, we wouldn't have over 80 to 85% of the country have it legal for medical purposes, or just over the counter. 50% of the country now is over the counter. So
Mhm.
please stop thinking that cannabis is unsafe. Just do the research, figure it out, leave it alone. Okay, um, one way or another. Article: How traditional Indian fabrics are reinventing the wheel of sustainability. Number one, hemp. And I love this because it says, it describes it as an environmental hero, which is true. And so that's how the top of the section for this particular, and again, hemp was the first one they talked about. And then it starts out talking about hemp is a wonder crop. And it's true. And again, especially for a country like India. And what I think is very interesting, um, is and they kind of talked about this in the article, is the history of not only just the history of hemp in India for fabric, but the history of hemp for food in India, which dates back 5,000 years of food and as medicine. Um, and so India has a long history of using hemp and just about all its, I'm almost surprised that it's not a more used, um, and again, it would have been, lost me for a second. It would have been, if they would have been using it in concrete or making it in hempcrete, because they love to build with concrete in India, and they really build some really cool, interesting stuff with concrete. To be honest with you, but if they would have done half of those buildings in hempcrete, that what a world it would be. As far as the sand they would have saved, one way or another. But the hemp clothing market in India, this is interesting, in 2001 was $2 billion. I mean, that's huge. And of course, once again, they have almost a billion people. No, are they over a billion? No, I have to check that. No, they might be over a billion. I don't know what I'm thinking here. I'm pretty sure they're over a billion in India. Yeah, because China has over a billion too. And again, they're basically, China and India are divided by the Himalayas, or the plateau, which is where cannabis came from originally. They traced it back to that. So basically, it went east to China and southwest, basically, to India. And again, thousands and thousands of years of use in both of those countries. Um, Now they did 38 billion in cotton. So 2 billion in hemp, 38 billion in cotton. Um, but the most hopeful thing about the article is the fact that they're predicting hemp to increase by 25% over the next 5 years, and they're only expecting cotton to increase by maybe a couple percentage points. So cotton's on its way down, and in a country like India, and I'm really hoping we see kind of the same thing in China as well to see more hemp production, and they're making all the materials anyway. But obviously the same here in the United States. I would love to see our just hemp clothing numbers come up as cotton dwindles. Um, the cotton has made plenty of money for plenty of people, and it will continue to make plenty of money for plenty of people. And they can always convert to hemp and just go about their business making money. I understand that. I'm not against it. Um, Speaking of fashion or material, here is a pic of some of Mara Hoffman's new fashion line. Of course, I don't know who this is, and this is fashion. So, I mean, there's a couple couple outfits here. I think that the average person might wear, of course. But I know that the on the right top corner, look three, is definitely made out of hemp. Um, and I think if you scan down or up, um, the bottom one in the middle is definitely a hemp outfit. I don't know if all of them are, although they described this new fashion line as hemp or organic cotton. And so, and or I don't know if they're doing both or if they're just hemp and then there's organic cotton stuff. I'm not sure. But again, predominantly using, if you're going to use cotton, organic cotton is the only kind we should use. And then, you know, all hemp is good because there were no chemicals used on the fiber to grow for this hemp to begin with. You don't need to use herbicides or pesticides when you're growing hemp for fiber or grain for the most part. Um, so good new line of clothing there. Again, not for everybody, but I think the more, once again, that these fashionistas use hemp in this upper end fashion, the more that it will trickle down to the lower end because that's kind of the way all things work. If it's kind of an elitist or whatever type thing, it's going to get down to us common people um, because there's nothing holding anyone from making hemp clothing. And so the more the merrier, the more the hempier, I think is my saying. The more the hempier. Um, USDA article on, but this is a USDA article on biofuels. Okay, the only real, it was interesting, of course, corn and soy and all those um, plants can be used as a biofuel, biomass biofuel. Um, but the only thing they really talked about in this article was hemp. And again, this is a quote from the article that the USDA has written. Hemp is a fibrous crop and makes a good biofuel feedstock due to its short cropping period, high plant biomass yields, low fertilizer and water needs, and high carbon sequestration capacity. You know, who hasn't said those things 100 times on this show? Not me. Because it's true. The only thing that I think, really holds hemp back as being a successful biofuel in the long run is the fact that the world is moving away from fuel. Not that we don't still need fuel sources, liquid fuel sources, if you want to call them that, or what. And again, alternative, alternatives to oil will always make sense if they want to keep making these combustion engines, which I really do believe, it's going down. When we stop making combustion engines, I don't know. Um, it may be never if we come up with a cleaner, more natural fuel source. Not that oil isn't natural, but it's not. sustainable. It's not replenishable. Hemp can be, once again, that short growing season. Some places you can go two of those in a year. Okay, it's not like you pick the hemp and it never grows back again, like drilling for oil, because that's not how it works. That's what makes hemp so great at all the things that it does, as it is sustainable. You know, anywhere we can grow it, and you can grow it anywhere. It can grow in just about any climate except for maybe the Arctic climates. Um, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if you couldn't grow hemp in Alaska in the summer season. Might take a little care because I don't even know how they dig into the ground because it's all frozen up there. Maybe above ground in planters, because that's how a lot of people in Alaska do their vegetable gardens and plant gardens and whatnot. Is it's all above garden or above ground,
Mm.
because the soil in Alaska stays frozen for 11 out of 12 months, or all of them for that matter. I don't know if it ever really unfreezes to where you can do agriculture. Um, but I'm sure you could grow hemp above ground, uh, if you really wanted to, um, for your grain or fiber or CBD or whatever. Um, it's hard to say. Hard to say there. We'll have to look into that and see if there's any Alaskans growing hemp. I think in Alaska is legal to grow hemp. Um, so anyway, where am I at here? Where am I at? Company from the Netherlands promoted a hemp field day, and I believe, I forgot to put the state, like, Nebraska. I think maybe, I don't know. I just like the name of the county, which was Candy Yohai. Oh, wait a minute, did I? So I think I have a picture
Yeah.
of a gentleman standing in front of that hemp field. There it is. Um, and again, so uh, they had a field day and they educated people on the hemp, um, at this farm. So I always I think field days are great. I think it's, you know a great way to promote, once again, how safe this plant is. There's no harm in growing this plant. Anybody can come and look and touch and feel and see that there's no harm in growing this plant one way or another. So I love his John Deere hat on, because this is farmers, encouraging farmers and educating people on hemp, one way or another. Excuse me, a lot of field days going on, uh, and this time of year. This is getting close to harvest, if not already harvested, probably in some places, possibly. So, um, this is interesting. Study in mice showed not only does CBD fight inflammation, but it treats inflammation. Okay, so what they have proven in this study, at least in mice, is that, the shifting of the formation of pro-inflammatory compounds to inflammation resolving specialized pro-resolving mediators, the science words, um, is what happens. So not only does the CBD go in and fights the inflammation, but it turns the things that made the inflammation into anti-inflammation fighting substances. And so that's why it works so well. And again, I mean, we very rarely anymore, to be honest with you, does anyone, call us snake oil salesmen, or very rarely do I ever see an article on CBD doesn't work, blah blah blah, because it does work.
Yeah.
And here's more science proving that. Again, I say, for the most part, there are three reasons people come in and purchase CBD from us, and the anti-inflammation principles is one of those. On top of the calming or sleep issues, um, which can also have something to do with inflammation issues. And so, what we're seeing again, not only does it fight the inflammation, but it turns the things that are making the inflammation into anti-inflammation things. And I know that's very unsciency sounding, but It's it's the most simplest way that I can explain it. Because and again, that's the science of it. You could use all the fancy words that the article used. I'd have to write them down. Um, but more or less, once again, proving in their next step, and this is really going to be uh, interesting to see the results. And hopefully, they're the same, and I think they will be. Is they're going to move on to human trials. Once again, CBDs scientifically, medically proven to do at least one of the things um, that we say that it's always done, and people have always used it for, and that's why they keep coming back and buying the products uh, because they work. It really does do what we say it does, one way or another. Um, Check out this really cool looking dwelling. Now this is Gaurav Dixit House. Okay, now what they're using is a traditional building technique of stacking rock and wood, okay, to do like the windows and all these things. And again, this is in India, um, and so but they used hempcrete for the base, and so I think that they actually poured hempcrete. Again, you can't do this in the United States legally, um, even though science is still not proven. But for foundations or load-bearing walls, and you're not supposed to do that. But they used it here one way or another, and I don't know how much hempcrete they really had to use because you can see by looking at it, it's a lot of windows, a lot of wood, and a lot of stone, which you can't really see how they stacked the stone and the wood to do all this. But this was a apparently a traditional form of building in this part of India. But again, using hempcrete. Anywhere that they needed crete, they used hempcrete, whether it was a lot or a little. So I just think it's a really neat looking place. To be honest with you, I'd
Yeah.
like to hang out there. I'd really just like to hang out there, one way or another. Um, might go to the top of the list of one of my favorite hempcrete houses ever. Um, and I tell you, there's some pretty cool ones out there these days. Pretty cool ones out there, no doubt about it. So, I did mention this a little bit earlier, and it's true. Virginia is, in fact, their new law is there is a new lawsuit against Virginia's ban or new uh, hemp law. So, and one of these is it's a packaging thing. I think it was Virginia. It's either Virginia or Florida. I don't remember. That if you packaged it in anything that looked like it appealed to children, it was made illegal. Which again, most of the stuff's behind the counter. I don't care what it looks like. It's not. You're not going to sell it to children. It's the dumbest thing ever. And if I was in one of these states, I truly felt like the day after I would have been suing, um, because prove that I'm selling the product to underage children. I don't care what the package is. What difference does it make what the package is? Just because you say it's appealing to children doesn't mean I'm going to sell it to a child. Okay, they're actually trying to appeal to adults when their love of candy and things that adults buy every day. Um, it's like it's so ridiculous. Like adults don't buy Sour Patch Kids or chocolate bars or something. But it's just really ridiculous to assume that because it's in a package that looks like it might appeal to children, that they're going to sell it to children. That's just ignorance. Again, it's just ignorance. If a store wants to sell something to a child, they're not going to care what the package looks like. If they want to sell to an underage kid, they don't care what the package looks like. They're going to sell to an underage kid, and they're going to be done with it. And then they get in trouble. Not just because your products look like they appeal to children and they're on your shelves, um, should you get in trouble or have your products taken from you, which is the most ridiculous part of it all, honestly. So, um, here's another pretty cool one. I talked about hemp can do this, but the material maker Florent signed a $2 million deal to make hemp ultra capacitors, which store and release energy faster than conventional batteries. Now, um, I've called them supercapacitors. I don't know if an ultra capacitor is sounds even better than a supercapacitor battery. I don't know if there's any difference. If a supercapacitor is also an ultra capacitor, I don't know. Um, but again, graphene I know is a part of the supercapacitor battery that we can make hemp from. They didn't specifically say what part of the ultra capacitors, but I would guess because they are a material maker that it is probably a graphene like or graphene material. Okay, which again we can make out of hemp at about 10,000th of the cost of using real graphene or using what they have to ore to make graphene material or something. I don't know. Again, science I don't understand, other than we can grow a plant in 6 months instead of using something that cannot be replaced. Uh, Batteries will always be an issue. 100 years from now, batteries will be an issue. The, the, the need to make a bigger, smaller, better, stronger battery will never go away. Never go away. We've been 100 years at least developing battery technology. The technology itself has been around for a really, really long time. Never put into place because the resources might not have been there, or um, you know, back in the day, a gas engine was easier to build and produce and supply with fuel than a battery operated. But they were battling it out 100 years ago too, just as much as they're battling it out now. Technology has taken us so much further that we can utilize and make efficient electric vehicles or electric engines, electric motors, period, for anything. Um, and But again, that technology has been advancing and trying to get better for 100 years, and there's no stopping that. Batteries are a part of human existence that have not met their full capacity in any form and will continue to grow. And there is another company I know in Texas that's developing a hemp battery. I don't know. I feel like it's a not a ultra capacitor, but a deep cell, like something you would use in your vehicle or something like that, possibly. So, again, I always said that legalizing hemp in the United States was the first step, and then we would take technology and we would run with it, and that's what we're doing. There are so many advancements between machinery and products to be made in industrial hemp that that's something we've got to look forward to for years and years and years. It's a brand new industry that's 10,000 years old, so there's a lot of advancements still to be made. And batteries, knowing batteries, because again, batteries are not just our past and our present, but our future as far as energy goes, for sure. Um, so the U.S. Department of Agriculture has released its version 3.0 of what's called the Hemp Descriptor and Phenotyping Handbook. Okay, this is really interesting to me, and I'm hoping that I can actually find access to this online. And I don't know how to. I don't know if you can request a copy of this handbook. I would assume it's online, should be because it's Department of Agriculture. Um, but basically, this contains details on morphology, yield, cannabinoid content, oil production, seed viability, fiber quality, and pathogen resistance, and various other traits of um, at least the cultivars that I guess the Department of Agriculture knows about or has seen or studied, possibly here in the United States. There are over 200 recognized hemp cultivars in the world. And again, and so there are probably a handful that are being utilized in the United States, separate from um, separate from the CBD industry. And in fact, it's a handful maybe. There's only a certain amount of fiber seed cultivars I think being used. And again, this is somewhat availability. This is somewhat what was out there, and we already know about like Futura and these these other cultivars that are used worldwide to for grain, which we look to Canada obviously and see what they grow for grain, what their cultivars are for grain because they're the biggest producers of that. We could try to look to China, but I don't know if China would ever tell us exactly what kind of hemp they're growing. I guess we could do Italy as far as fiber, but you've also got that geographical region um, that would make sense. So if you're on the same uh, uh, latitude as say Russia or France or whatever, you can look to see what they grow and see what seeds um, are successful there. You know, I don't think it matters as much. I once told someone I wanted to grow if it was to become legal, I would want to grow French hemp. Um, just to see how I could do with growing French hemp. And they're like, "Oh, you can't do that because we grow in Ohio." I'm like, "Well, I don't think you know anything about hemp for one thing, because the seed is pretty prevalent. Would it produce the same quality? I don't know. How long would it take of growing before we were maybe getting the same quality? I don't think it's much. And again, those are all the experiments that are getting worked out in the United States when it comes to growing for fiber or grain. One is to how successful um, it is, you know, but shouldn't really should not be an issue as to where it's being grown now and bringing it over here and growing it one way or another. So, it could be different, and it probably would be different um, because even like the USS Constitution. There's a picture of the USS Constitution where they actually used United States grown hemp for half of the sails and the riggings, and Russian grown hemp for half of the sails and the riggings. And the whole reason was to prove that America's hemp was as good as Russia's hemp, and it did. And so, even if it was a little different, it was just as strong, just as durable as they wanted it to be, um, one way or another. And Russian hemp was the hemp to have, um, 200 years ago in the United States.
Hmm.
Thomas Jefferson smuggled 600,000 tons or some crazy amount of hemp seed out of Russia through Great Britain, illegal at the time, honestly, into the United States. That's a history fact. Okay, so Thomas Jefferson was a smuggler. All the genius things he did. There's another genius thing he did is he smuggled, basically, because again it was illegal at the time. He smuggled Russian hemp seed through Great Britain to get it to the United States. So that's how strong, how much they believed that we needed to be growing it here. Um, and again, it was the law in certain states that colonized the original colonies. I know Virginia, for one, if you grew any crop, if you grew a certain amount of acres of any crop, you had to grow like an acre of hemp. And this all came from a king's, I forget what king it was, King Charles, one of the King Charleses possibly in England, um, decreed the same thing at some point or another, made it law that if you grew a certain amount of crops, no matter what they were, you had to grow a certain amount of hemp, period. Um, and so, it was basically legal tender. So that made it legal tender uh, one way or another. So, da-da-da-da. Well, the FDA, just reading, just reading the first part of the speech towards the FDA. So they got lambasted by the Healthcare and Financial Services Chairwoman. This is of the United States. The Healthcare and Financial Services Chairwoman at a title at a hearing. This was a hearing, a federal hearing titled "Hemp in the Modern World: The Years-Long Wait for FDA Action." This is genius. Years-long wait for FDA action, which is what we're doing. Okay. And she went after him. She went after him for everything that was right. Hemp is safe. Prove that it's not. Um, what she really went after him for is because the FDA says they want more money to do its job. Okay, they already have almost a $7 billion budget. The FDA has almost a $7 billion budget, and they think they need more money to study CBD. I find somewhere in the budget. I'm sure you can find somewhere in the budget to make this work, right? We don't need to give you more money to do this. Um, and it was quite brilliant. Um, apparently, apparently the FDA may have actually listened because they are going to hire a company to study thousands of CBD products. And these are, um, from everything from is what's in the bottle said in the bottle to metals, to heavy metals and things like that. And again, they said it was between 1,000 and 3,000 different products that um, that this company was going to be responsible to test in many different forms and for many different things. Um, for what reason? To make sure that they're safe above all else. Okay. Now, I don't know how important it is, and then I'm sure they're probably just doing this so that the FDA can give warnings to people about, you said there's 50 milligrams of CBD in there, and there's only 40. Well, that's an issue. Doesn't make it unsafe, it just makes it a lie. And the FDA can already deal with that, okay, because that's a labeling issue. And so the FDA has already sent multiple letters to multiple companies for labeling issues. Some are you don't have what you're saying you have. Some are possibly making claims because you cannot make medical claims. What you see on most of it, even if you call it calming, there's always that asterisk on the back that says the FDA has not evaluated any of these statements. And so, uh, hopefully we can kind of get to the bottom of what we can and can't say on a label, because until the FDA does in fact make a ruling, and again, they're not ruling that it's unsafe, but they're not ruling that it's safe. So it's in this weird gray area of, um, once again, all it really does is it keeps us from putting anything on a label. But it doesn't even do that because everybody just puts that little asterisk and that little disclaimer statement. FDA has not evaluated this, just like I say at the beginning of the show out of joking and fun. Um, it's a reality. It's a reality for CBD products, where it's just a joke when I say the FDA has not evaluated the show for safety or efficacy. Um, so, well, that's I don't know how long that's going to take. I can't, it's not going to be a short amount of time. So maybe in 6 months, maybe we'll have an official FDA ruling as to Um, the grass generally regarded as safe. So once the FDA puts that grass rating on something, then we're good to go. We'll see maybe if there's studying how much nutritional value, if any, there is to CBD, which I think is an important part of it. Uh, you know, um, I don't know that we can say because CBD is just CBD. So it's not like at some point we have to say what's the daily allowance value of CBD. Um, is it 100 milligrams per day? Is it, and then you get that, then you can put that percentage on there, 10% of your daily allowance, or whatnot. These are the things that I have no problem coming up with and would like to see, in all honesty. And like I've always said, the day after the FDA makes CBD grass is the day that um, 5 out of the 7 major food and beverage companies in the world put their CBD products on the shelf.
Yeah.
They're just waiting for that. We have plenty of it in the these private smaller businesses, just like ourselves. But the day that the FDA makes CBD grass, generally regarded as safe, the day after that, we were going to see probably the beverage industry first because that's the easiest. I feel like, um, and then possibly be interesting to see candy makers or like any type of over the counter gummy. If you make a vitamin D gummy, huge big companies, then they're going. Next thing you know, we're going to see CBD gummies on the shelf, right, with all those other um, therapeutic over the counter gummies that you can buy now.
Yeah.
So, that's half of me says I wish the FDA never ruled on it, so the small businesses can continue to thrive. The other half says they should and need to do something uh, so that the general public stops believing that there's something evil or wrong with CBD. Because again, I can see a lot of people saying, "Well, if the FDA hasn't approved it, I'm not going to try it. I don't want it." Whereas most people that try it say, "I don't care if the FDA approves it or not." So I don't know if you call that a double-edged sword. I don't know. Anyway, um, we're hopefully within the next 6 months we'll see the inaction of the FDA turn into action by the FDA. I'm not promising anything though because this has been going on for years, but at least they're moving forward in ways that they should. So, um, the Whitefield Fiber Processing Company is up and running in Rexburg, Idaho. I don't think this was the same company that I just talked about. Maybe it is, or this is the second processing company in Idaho that is opening up and is now functioning. And again, they're doing predominantly fiber and hurd. So they're processing the stalk for the most part into materials for materials with the fiber or hempcrete animal bedding with the hurd, as we call it. So, uh, nutritionist Clarissa Linher, she lists her 7 habits people should start before September. I know it's a little late, but it's not too late. Um, uh, the first one, the first one was wake up constantly. I don't know what that really means.
Not bad.
Um, I mean, it sounds like something a narcoleptic person would have issues with waking up constantly. I get, I think that she's, you know, get up at the same time every morning. Maybe I don't know, maybe,
Mm.
but I think it is. To me, I always describe that as a good day because I got up. you know, but Down the list, as well as adjusting your light and all these other things, is a nourishing breakfast. And with that, and I quote, she says, I always add 2 tablespoons of shelled hemp seeds to my breakfast, as they boost any meal with 7 grams of plant based protein and almost 33% of your daily allowance of magnesium. So I don't know why you should do that before September, because apparently it's something you should do every day. And we've talked about, um, hemp seed, especially in the morning with breakfast, because it satiates uh, your hunger, and it makes you feel full longer, and it has this unbelievable nutritional profile, just like that. I mean, protein, magnesium, vitamins, minerals. It's omega 6 to omega 3 essential fatty acids ratio is supposed to be like the perfect ratio, and so the health benefits alone of having hemp in your diet. And I've always said, don't be on a diet, have a good diet. Um, are once again exponential, as I've reported once again many times, from the heart benefits to cholesterol lowering benefits to all the other things that hemp seed uh, helps with in the human body. It's just amazing. And once again, I'm really surprised that the food industry has not jumped on hemp. And again, maybe they're a little sketchy still, but the hemp food industries has been around for a while. The nutritional value of hemp is accepted by FDA. Hemp seed is grass by the FDA. It has a nutritional value, and you can put that on the labels, and whatnot when it comes to hemp seed. And why more companies aren't trying to figure out how to get that hemp into their food, whether it's cereal or chips or crackers or butter or I don't know, whatever it may be, hemp oil or hemp seed can probably be a part of it. We know we can make hemp milk, so there's no reason why we shouldn't make hemp butter, which somebody does. Hemp cheese, which somebody does. Large scale, no. Small scale, yes. And so, there's no reason why um, there shouldn't be an option for a hemp food or a food with hemp or something in it on the shelves, on every shelf with every product in the grocery store. In all honesty, and again, it just behooves these food companies to do this, because that's nutritional value you can put on the label. You can put that 33%, if it has 7 grams per serving or whatever, then you can put that's 33% of the daily allowance. You can put how much protein is in that serving on the back, and all of that nutritional value. And so there's really, it's really, to me, I think, again, I think that one's led more um, by ignorance than anything else. Setting the alarms off. That's right. The food, send off the food company alarms, people. You know, adding hemp to any food product benefits the consumer and behooves the people making the hemp products to use more. We're talking about a better thing, not a worse thing, a better thing to add. And again, you don't have to put a big hemp leaf on the product. Just put it in there. Put the nutritional facts. Let people, if you think you need to let people know. If not, just put it in there. Most people won't even pay attention. There's no liability of anyone testing positive for THC. There's zero THC in the seed. And if science needs to prove that again and again, we will, um, so that we understand that there is no amount of food made from hemp seed or hemp oil that will make you test positive for THC delta 9. It's impossible. Impossible. I'm going to say that. And this comes from someone that says nothing is impossible. I should say it is highly, highly improbable, highly improbable, if not impossible, um, to test positive from hemp foods. And so, uh, I think there was one fireman that proved this like 20 years ago somehow in court. And I don't know if that one case somehow keeps major food companies from using hemp in their food. Um, but and again, all this is doing is allowing these smaller companies, from the hemp burger makers to the hemp cheese people, to at least exist in their small markets without competition from large food companies. But it should be in what it can be in just because of its nutritional value. It's not a shtick. It's you know it's a fact. I'm still seeing, and we've been seeing these for 10 years, and I was reluctant at first to call it a superfood just because I hate the term superfood. Um, but it does serve a purpose of saying, this is a food above and beyond nutritional value than your average food. And so you should add it to your diet. You should figure out how to get it into your diet one way or another. So, all right. Not a whole lot of events going on. There's a little bit tomorrow. If you're in New York, if you're anywhere near Geneva, New York, head over to Cornell and go to the Cornell Grain and Fiber Field Day from 8 to 4 at the Cornell Agritech in Geneva, New York. Um, Try that out. There's a kind of a fun event out in Colorado, but at Typhoon, I think Typhoon Pharma, they are doing a pick your own hemp thing. So from the 15th to the 17th at Typhoon Pharma in Colorado. I should have got a city on that probably. I'm sure you can look it up if you're out in Colorado and you want to try to do this. It's only $40 per plant, and then you walk out in the field and you pick your own plant. And then they also show you how to trim, and this is CBD, CBG, both, these are CBD and CBG flowers is what's going on here. And so they show you how to trim and dry and all the things post cutting that you need to know. So that's a great, I mean, they're talking, just blowing me away if it's true. Even if 2 pounds is true, they're saying that each plant, and maybe that's the whole plant, it's going to weigh 2 to 3 pounds. I don't know if it's just a flower. That's just again amazing that you could get 2 pounds of flour out of a cannabis plant. And it doesn't surprise me because we've been making cannabis bigger, better, stronger, heavier, for 30, 40 years since that was the goal, to see how big of a flower we could end up with. Um, and again, this is CBD, CBG, this is hemp, 100% legal, one way or another. Um, October 10th and 11th, not too far away. Make your plans now. You've got the International Hemp Building Symposium in Amsterdam. Okay. Again, they're going to be demonstrating the Herdmaster MD1000 Air, which is a micro decortator. So it's a smaller version of the big, huge machines that breaks the hemp. So it sends the hemp through basically like a zigzag, um, and separates the fiber from the herd, and also most more than likely would separate the lignin, which is another kind of byproduct um, of that separation product that we're looking to use or figure out how to use, because there aren't really anything going on with that lignin. my understanding is lignin acts kind of like a glue. Like the lignin is the kind of the compound that holds it all together. And so I would only hope that we can figure out how to take that lignin. It's like a powdered form when it's broken up, um, and again make a glue out of it. Some natural glue that's non-toxic, possibly, or some bonding agent that's non-toxic. I don't know. I might have to look more into, and I've known about this for a while as far as lignin being a byproduct of breaking the hemp and being one of those byproducts that doesn't have a uh, that I know of, and I would think that again, there's got to be a market for lignin being used outside of hemp, but I'm not positive what that is, and so it's just another byproduct that needs to find its way into probably current manufacturing of some goods that you know could substitute it hopefully with something that it maybe isn't as natural or sustainable as hemp is. So there's also going to be a field trip to a massive hempcrete casting facility, and so this is probably where they're making hemp blocks. Um, and so you can go and check out how they make the hemp blocks, which is probably a pretty simple procedure of just mixing it up, pouring it in the mold, letting it dry and solidify for a certain amount of time, and then stacking them up and building with them. You know, we've seen everything from cinder block looking blocks to Lego looking blocks, which brilliant. If you were gonna, we can use hempcrete for walls as long as they're not load bearing. So if you were going to build a wall, like a stackable Lego would be super easy to do. Honestly, I feel I would feel confident in building a wall out of something like that. Honestly, um, using hempcrete to hold it all together. And again, we get that really good insulation that hempcrete makes one way or another. It's a little bit out, but October's medical marijuana meeting is going to actually be, I'm assuming it's the last Tuesday. I haven't actually checked when October 31st is, or it's just on October 31st, which we know is Halloween. Um, and so they're going to do this is kind of something that they started. I don't know last year if he was doing this before COVID or not, but I know for sure last year it just so happened that they moved that um, October meeting, which I guess would also probably hold for the November meeting, um, because the first Tuesday of November is right around the corner from that, I am sure. Uh, and so this is kind of maybe a 2 month meeting, but also going to be a cannabis. It is a Tuesday. October 31st is a Tuesday. I figure that's why she did it. Um, but it's also they're gonna have their cannabis costume competition. So start thinking about your what you want to dress up as. Um, I won't probably ever do it again. I'll have to see if I can find the pictures. But I know one year I went as a pot-bellied pig. So I took hemp leaves, and again, it was all hemp. I had like a hemp bandana, pink bandana that I made into my like pink nose, and then had my hemp kind of outfit on. But then I took hemp leaves and put them on my belly, so I was a pot-bellied pig, which I thought was quite ingenuitive. I've never seen anybody else dress up as a pot-bellied pig for Halloween. Um, Cannabis pot. So anyway, start thinking about what you want to do there. I will. I will probably go as Hemperman, because that's kind of one of my default costumes anyway. So we'll see. We'll see what I come up with. But my plans will be there and to be dressed up in
You
my
should go
costume.
as the three different people from one of the commercials. You just like leave costume change and then come back in.
That's that would take a little bit of
Yeah.
ingenuity, but
Come
could happen. I one year I did go as a cowboy and an Indian. My Indian outfit, not to be offensive, was an Indian from India. Okay, Native Americans are from America, or indigenous to America. Indians come from India.
Yep.
Um, and so, yeah, the first half of the party, and again, all hemp. I had my cowboy outfit on, and then I went halfway through and changed into my Indian outfit, which was not all hemp, but was an outfit that I bought in India when I was there with the long shirt and the linen pants, which could have been hemp. It's hard to say, but uh, anyway, if you know, even if I just wear what I have on now, it's technically a cannabis costume.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I'll have a little bit more imagination. If it comes down to it, I don't have anything, then
Yeah.
that's just what I'm going to say. Is this is my cannabis costume? What do you mean? I'm 100% hemp right here. Is your outfit 100% cannabis? I doubt it. So anyway,
Yeah.
um, didn't have any questions this week. I believe my thoughts were made clear throughout the show. With that, I will say, remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See you all next week.